السادة المشاهدين، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. مرحبا بكم مرة أخرى مع سلسلة وثائقيات حول إنتاج العسل في غرب أستراليا. في هذه السلسلة سوف نقوم بعمل حوارات ولقاءات مع بعض منتجي العسل وبعض النحالين، وقد تكون لنا زيارات إلى متاجر العسل، وكذلك قد تكون لنا زيارات إلى مراكز الأبحاث. معكم علي السادة، مدينة بيرث، غرب أستراليا. استعرضنا في الجزء الأول من لقائنا مع السيد مايك فيوستر تاريخ عائلة فيوستر في تربية النحل، وتحدثنا عن أهم وأشهر أنواع العسل في غرب أستراليا، وهم عسل الجارا وعسل الكاري وعسل الماري. في هذا الجزء من المقابلة سيتحدث السيد مايك عن نشاط العسل والفرق بين عسل الجارا وعسل المانوكا، وذلك فيما يخص مقاييس النشاط الإجمالي للعسل وقوته في محاربة الميكروبات.
All of the values that we see on the jar that talk about TA, UMF, NPA, PA, these all refer to the activity of the honey. And the activity really is the microbial killing power of the honey. So the higher any one of those numbers is, the stronger or the more powerful that the honey is in killing microbes. The term total activity, or TA, that is simply it's a value that gives the total amount of the killing power. The total activity is made up of two subtypes, which is the peroxide activity that we abbreviate as PA, and the non-peroxide activity that we abbreviate as NPA. Now, in the honeys that come from Western Australia, our eucalypt honeys, the majority, in fact the vast majority of the total activity is peroxide activity, which is the PA. Now the PA is the antimicrobial power of the honey that is produced by the bees as a mechanism to preserve the honey while it's forming in the beehive. PA is the gentlest form of activity when it comes to us eating the honey or putting it on our skin. So we think that the PA is a very good form of activity. The other variety, the NPA, it's activity that is derived mainly from chemicals that come from the nectar, so from the phytochemicals. Now, the most powerful of all of those chemicals that has been found so far is a chemical called methylgloxal, or which we abbreviate as MGO, and methylgloxal is mainly found in Manuka honey. Now, when it was first discovered that Manuka honey had this very high level of non-peroxide activity, the Manuka producers in New Zealand decided that the term NPA was not very good to market their honey, so they created the term UMF. UMF simply stands for the unique Manuka factor. It's a trademark term, but UMF simply is the NPA value. So UMF and NPA are the same. Now, in Manuka honey, the vast majority of the activity is NPA. So, for example, with Jara honey, the majority of the total activity is PA. In Manuka, it's NPA. But both of those values, PA and NPA, is what make the total activity. So what it means really is that when you're comparing, for example, Jara honey with Manuka honey, with Jara honey you will see a value on the jar of TA, of total activity, and with Manuka you'll see a value of UMF, mostly UMF, sometimes NPA. Essentially, the values you see there are the same. If you see a Manuka that has a UMF of 20 and a Jara that has a TA of 20, the amount of activity those honeys have is about the same. The third value that is applied to Manuka is MGO. As I mentioned, MGO is the actual chemical in Manuka honey that is the powerful antimicrobial product. So the value of MGO is actually the concentration of methylgloxal in the honey in milligrams per kilogram. What is confusing is that the MGO value that you see on the jar will be a much bigger number. So you will often see MGO values from 50 to maybe 800. Well, there are...
Is it per kilogram?
It's, well, yeah, so a value of, say an MGO value of 100 simply means there is 100 milligrams of MGO per kilogram of honey.
So if I have 250 grams jar of Manuk honey, and it's, for example, 800 MGO.
Well, really, if you have a jar, so if you have a 250 gram jar of 800 MGO honey, really what that means is that that jar of honey has 200 milligrams of MGO in the honey. But the best thing to do though is if you look on our Forest Fresh website or even some of our products, you'll actually see a little chart that allows you to compare the equivalent values. So you can compare the value of total activity with UMF and MGO. It is important to do that because what is really important to realise is that an MGO value of, say, 100 is not 5 times as powerful as a TA value of 20. A TA value of 20 is much, much more powerful than an MGO value of 100. And indeed, we have here one of our products, one of our Forest Fresh gift boxes, and on the rear of this box we actually place a small chart which allows you to compare. So a jar of honey with a TA value of 30 is actually equivalent to an MGO value of nearly 2,000. So a honey with an MGO value of about 800 is equivalent to a TA value of about 20. So UMF and TA are about the same. So a Manooka honey with a value, a UMF of 20 is about the same as a Jara honey with a TA of 20. Now,
good point.
It is, I guess the one thing that we will always emphasise is that these types of antimicrobial power work in different ways. So sometimes a UMF or a Manooka honey will work much better to treat some types of microbial infection than what a Jara honey is. I think what we always emphasise and stress is that if people want to use honey as a treatment for any type of microbial infection, they must first talk to their doctor just to make sure that what they are doing is going to be effective. It is a very complicated area of healthcare, so please consult your doctor. But again, in simple terms, total activity equals UMF, and MGO is a much larger value. So a TA value of 20 will equal an MGO value of about 800. But the comparison between TA and MGO is not linear. So for example, our Jara honey here with a TA of 35, that's equivalent to an MGO value of nearly 2,000.
Oh.
So if you do want to see what the comparison is between TA and UMF and MGO, please go to our website. There's some information there that will explain it all, and you can understand. And as I've said, if you want to use honey as a way of treating any sort of microbial infection, either on your skin or in your mouth or in your body, please initially talk to your doctor or your healthcare provider, and they will explain to you as well what type of honey you should use.